my privilege to introduce you to our guest speaker for today, Mr. Sanjay Singh.
All in all, like in my 25 years of career, I think in next 2 years, I would have invented 5 drugs, which at least 3 of them have potential of being about $3 to $5 billion a year in sales, global sales for those drugs. So that's my passion, and the relevant part of for you is that I still in Janssen uh, I hold a fund of about $15 million that goes to support new entrepreneurs, new discoveries every year. So we look for people who have good ideas, better things that we need or we believe the business will need, and then we seed them. Sometimes we join other venture funds to kind of fund these new entrepreneurs. So anything that is biologics that Janssen Venture Fund invests in goes through me in terms of determining whether it's a worthy investment or not. So so I do kind of look into various things, and I thought I would talk a little bit about how do I select the companies that I feel are worthy of making investment using not my but company money. So when I was thinking about that, one thing I thought let me share my screen just to kind of have some points that I wanted to kind of make. So let me. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Let me put it in presentation mode. Okay. So in the beginning of this session, you guys talked about the books that you review, and then there was a book that you will be discussing. What I wish I knew when I was 20, and my first slide is about if I wish I knew these things, like who I am about when I was 30, and why it is important, because if you know who you are, that basically determines how what are your strengths, and how can you use your strengths to either build your own career, but also where you fit in, where you will be happy, where you can make a bigger difference. So what I have learned in my life is that people work on their weaknesses and wanting to get better. I think that's a lot of work, a lot of effort, and really doesn't give that much reward. If you know what your strengths are, and somehow if you know as early as in your career what your strengths are, and use your strength, that makes it much easier. So when I think of you know like when you're thinking about, so I was a slide ahead. This is the slide I was meaning to put, so my apologies. So do you know who you are? Have you spent some time figuring out, not by what you believe you are, but have you looked at how others and what others are telling you about who you are? So, there were clear signs that I should have seen, and when I see at myself, I should have tried to understand like what did they mean, but I didn't. And so I came from a family where my grandfather was a school inter-college principal. So that means education was very important, and not in just education was important. You have to come first in your class. If you didn't come first, you were a failure. So when I was in school, I was probably one of the youngest kid in my class, and I didn't come first for most of my career in my class. And for my family, I was not a good fit, because if you're not coming first in our class, what are you going to do? What's your future? But I didn't know that time. It was just kind of, a burden that I used to carry. So in PhD lab, I was in a very good lab and with a very good professor at Banaras Hindu University. And 3 years into my PhD, there was one time a well-wisher, senior person who had finished his PhD and then was a postdoc came to talk to me. And he told me once, he told me, I'm here to kind of help you out. Do you know, nobody likes you in the lab. And that was kind of, a very good, it's like, you're a young kid trying very hard, and then somebody comes and tells you, hey, nobody likes you. So I now reflect of that discussion. And what happened is that I was not thinking, maybe I was just angry, or I don't know. My answer to him was, why do you think I would want to be liked by these guys? And that was end of it. Like, he was shocked, like if somebody would say something like that. And we moved on, and I didn't think much of it. So and when I was at Boehringer Ingelheim, I was a senior leader. So they do this 365 survey where, like, you get your colleagues, your seniors, and everybody, like hundreds of people give feedback on you. And I was big companies do that, so it was done for me. And I was going through that feedback, and one thing I saw that in feedback again, trying to kind of think of. So it said, which was hard for me to adjust at that time, is that somebody wrote is that in this company there are people who adore him, follow him, like him, and there are set of people who can't stand up or can't stand him. He's just so obnoxious. So that was another thing, you don't want to kind of be not liked by a set of people. So that's another revealing thing was, trying kind of, and I still didn't pay attention to at that time that who really I am. I just wanted to be whatever, whoever I was, not paying attention, trying to do my best. So when I was at Jensen and I was interviewing a candidate for a senior leader, and I asked, like, and this person was given, had an option to go to even much higher position, but she was interviewing for my position, which was a level lower. And I asked her, like, why are you interested in this position? And I said, she said, like, I saw your group, and when you came to Janssen, I saw like there are about 40 people who came from Boehringer following you in this new job. So for me, like, that's a very good measure. So you were there for 9 years, and it's still like people have followed you in new job. So I don't know, but that tells me that you take care of people. Otherwise, people won't follow you. I didn't know about myself until she told me. So I started thinking, like, who I am, like what do I value. So let me move to the next slide. So when I try to reflect, and what I have come to learn, that I care about people who create true value. And when I say true value, in a sense that they are really good at what they do, and create something like not a motion or talk, or they're not good talker or presenter or communicator, but they're really very, very good at what they do, and they do it well. And then I have also learned about myself, and I have had very high functional groups. So in Boehringer, like, my group was considered one of the best in the company because of the productivity. When I went there, that group created something, a portfolio where senior management was saying that you guys slow down, you guys move things too fast. We can't handle financially. You're too productive. So why is that? And then what I come to learn without knowing is that I create opportunity for everyone, like not only the middle management, not the senior management, but people at the bench. Like, let them be the best they can be, and creating that culture. and then valuing people about not like how smart they talk or how good they look, but where really how they bring the value to the table. And then let the work speak for itself. That's another thing I have come to learn. Like talking is not, and probably you are noticing, I'm not a very good speaker. But what happens is that it's not about me able to articulate it very well, but able to just show what I know and how well I know and how well my team works. So another thing is that which I have come to learn is that, again, there are opinions. The people who are really good want to force their opinion, their thinking to the people, and that is not the best way to get the best out of people. Steve Jobs used to say that I hire good people not to tell them what to do, but because they are good at doing that, and let them do the job. So there is another thing to it, like our tendency is to roll your sleeve and solve the problem. But that's not, I believe. I have to be in behind. I help people, get better, do the job. But there is a difference. Like who takes the responsibility when things go wrong? So my rule is that if you do something good, you go present it. If you have done a good job, you are the one telling everybody it happens. But if something goes wrong, I'll stand up and take the responsibility because you are my team. So it's like letting people show their good things, and then preventing from getting them chastised, and you take the responsibility because you are the group leader. You set the tone. Another thing is focus on quality. Quality always wins. I have been impressed by companies like Mercedes, where logo is nothing but best. And that matters a lot in this business. And even when I have made molecules, I can't take that logo, but that has been the intent. Like, don't leave anything on table. When you make something, it should be as good or as perfect as it can be, so that nobody can make better than that. And then also, people are people, and the discussion earlier, like financial incentive or other incentive discussion was happening. People want to know they are valued, and if you can communicate that they are really valued, they work better for you. And then another important thing is that you have to be able to get people who are better than you and nurture them. So those are the things that I personally feel are highly valuable. So when I think of, like, what I can share with you all, um, so I'm not going to kind of talk about where we invest, because it's very obvious that unmet needs and opportunities and all that probably everybody is very familiar with. So I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm going to tell you, like, how do I choose a business partner. So one thing I have learned, like when people come to pitch, um, a large portion, and I would say about 60 to 70%, they tell you what you think. So they are telling me basically what they believe I want to hear. So they assume, without knowing me, like what I value, what is important to me. They do their own work, or from wherever they get, they are trying to tell me that, and they sometimes try very hard. So what I'm saying is that you are trying to tell me a problem, um, that you come here and tell me that, hey, I will solve you a problem that you assumed I have. And then basically not knowing whether I have that problem or not, but because some other companies or some other groups or some other people say is a problem, you believe is a problem, and then you come and tell, like, okay, I'm going to solve. Another thing which you have to know in this world, because of the communication tools, books, guides, leaders, all kinds of things are there. So everybody knows, how to say all right things. Everybody's used superlative. They are the best. They can do better. And I think, in our world, superlatives have lost meaning. They don't really mean, because everybody says that. So then how do you know who is good? And that where some people were talking in this discussion is that, do you have a genuine story? True. That you can tell. And it was mentioned is that stories are very important. So what's your story? Okay. And when you talk about all this story, then another thing want to know, if I start to like your story, I want to know how good it is. And then I ask, like, can I talk to your mid-level managers? Okay, you are CEO, you are CSO, your chief financial officer or business manager. You guys are pretty seasoned. You know what to say. Let me see, like, has your middle level team understood, or they are up to par to be able to do that. So it is very important for me when I'm making an investment decision is that I do want to talk people who will actually be doing the work. And if they're not good, if I find that there is a gap there, I would walk away. And I would walk away a lot of the times, because not because there was not a good story, not because leaders were good, they just didn't have good people working for them. So something, I have learned that makes the biggest difference. Um, and also, like, is the right fit. So right fit could be a lot of things. How do you know about that? And I look at, like, your fundamentals. You know, why you are so, good or not good. Like, in your training, or in your experience, or in how you have modeled your business, how you have articulated your story, how are you going to be doing this thing. um, those are, besides the outside frame, the inside, the tools, inside mechanisms, are they are very, very good. And then, what differentiates you? Like, why are you different? Like, if I go to somewhere else, and then this question comes a lot of the time, like, should I go to India or to China? Where will I work, and why will I work one place or other? And then, you know, um, that's another thing, is the depth. Like, how well you know what you are going to do. Have you really gone to a very fundamental level and be able to tell me that here are the very first principles? And in our business, if you can think of, like, physics and math are the first principle things. Can you get to that bottom and explain, like, how you're going to design a drug based on the physics and math? If you can't articulate to that level, probably you have not understood the complexity of the problem. And so just kind of quickly, I don't know how much time do I have. I want to kind of give you a couple of examples, like why I have chosen, some partners. So in early, when I was starting at Boehringer, I needed help with making some fundamental ingredients for the molecules that we wanted to build. And I was looking for, all kinds of places. I may have seen about 15 to 20 different companies. And I was in a bigger town in Freiburg in Germany, talking to another company that had made a good presentation. And when I went to talk to their mid-level leaders, I was very disappointed. I just left, like, instead of spending whole day. After lunch, I decided to leave. So somebody mentioned to me that, hey, we are here, we have rest of the day. There is another company down there in village. Maybe we should go. And I went there. A small company, a mom and pop kind of shop, and they kind of started their presentation. In about 7-minute presentation, I told my team, like, hey, the people who are presenting, I told them, like, can I have a minute with my team? And I told my team, like, hey, I know what they're talking about. We're going to do business with these guys. And the reason is that their fundamentals were so good, and they were not doing the sales pitch. They could tell, why do they do what they do, and their terminology told me like the depth. And we have, I maintained that relationship from Boehringer for 9 years or maybe 8 years, and then I still maintain that relationship. They used to do about $300,000 business a year. They do about $15 million business now. And I still work with them because they were very, very good. So when I was looking for another building a group in India, I came around and went a lot of places: Delhi, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, and other companies. And I settled then with Syngene. And the reason Syngene is a biocon company of Kiran Majumdar, and I will tell you a little bit of that story, is that some investment I'm planning to make in there. So the reason I end up making a deal with them, and I have a group of about 200 people in Syngene, is that their ability to bring really good talent, and not only bring good talent, how they nurture them and how they value them. So it's a very good culture, which is very people focused. And somehow, they go their training programs, how they go recruit, they bring really, really good people. So the prices may be not the reason, and there are other good companies, but the talent pool in that CRO is the best. So I give them a little bit premium price, but I rather work with the company that has a sharper people, and then they are able to retain him. So I just kind of recently going to invest in a new company. And the reason, again, we chose to invest, and I was thinking, like, should I name? Probably not good idea to name. But the reason we invested is that not only they are good, but they really not was trying to tell what problem you have, but more focused on, okay, how can, let me understand you, and then we will help you with that. Sorry about this. So basically, those are some of the things that personally I look into when I have to invest. Are they good people? They are really good at what they do, and are they willing to listen to me and not trying to tell me that this is how you should do? So I think that's what I had in my mind that I wanted to share, because Aditya had said 30 minutes. More, I feel like I'm better in answering questions and rather than making a good presentation. So I'll stop here and probably take questions.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sanjay. So anybody who has a question can definitely raise their hand. You have an option on the participant section where you can go and raise
I
a
can
hand.
see Manish raising a hand, his hand.
Okay. Manish, why don't you go
Puri, yeah.
first?
You're on mute, Manish. Still on mute. Yeah.
No, I can see his mute.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you all hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So thanks, Sanjay, for the great inputs. I see that you have a process in place in terms of selecting as to who you would like to go in for in terms of a credible enterprise. But these are very broad guidelines. I'm sure that your assessment process will be way more exhaustive than this. What are the other things that you look for in order to arrive at a green signal that yes, this is good to go?
So people, what I do is that instead of idea, I care more about people. So when they come talk, when I look at them, that's what I'm trying to see is that are they really into it, and they really believe into it. So when I find people who are passionate, and I say, like, if they give me a hint that they know who they are, and why they will be good in what they are going to do, I value that more than anything else. And I have made those decisions in 15 minutes sometimes, just because I could just see the genuineness and the depth of knowledge and the work that group or those people had done about thinking like, why they wanted to do something like that.
All right. Just one more question, and this is not really you know in the context of the conversation that we are having, but have you got the opportunity of reading this book called Bad Blood? Have you read Bad Blood?
No, I have not.
Have
Let
you
me
have
put
you
it
heard
on my
about
list.
the story of Elizabeth Holmes?
Yes,
You have? Okay. Now
I
she.
know her. I know her. So
Oh, you do. All right. All right. Now that's a classic example of someone uh, who portrayed to be someone who was not. So my question really is that in an assessment process, how do we truly determine whether this person is actually credible, or are we dealing with another potential Elizabeth Holmes?
very good point. And uh, I had chance. I knew her through a friend of mine whose son went to school with her,
Right.
and then she had come for an investment opportunity. She made a presentation,
Oh,
and then I remember like 15 minutes, and we had sent her out. Um,
oh,
that
you
that
sent
we
her out.
will
Okay.
work with you. Yes, but then I knew like big people were investing, and I was told like I was stupid to not invest because look at like what kind of investment she was generating. So it comes down to you may be wrong. You may be wrong a lot of time
Right.
in missing up the opportunity. But what I have basically learned is that can you relate to that person? Are they really know, do they really know what they're talking about? And it's just I know sometimes it takes time to figure it out,
Right.
um, but then you have to know sometimes things are when too good, they are really too good to be true, then they are really too good to be true.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sanjay, for your absolutely insightful presentation and talk. I think we all, I mean, I've made points of so many things that I have to think about when I associate with others. And also, I think I picked up a lot on leadership, on my leadership and what I would want to do with it. So thank you very much for that very insightful talk.